So now I'm going to show you a fantastic recipe for gravy. The French call it roasting juices, but essentially it's gravy, and it captures all of the flavour of the roasted meat, in this case chicken. What I've got here is the carcass from the roasted chicken. We've saved the carcass. It doesn't matter if you haven't got this, because also I'm going to add to that some chicken wings. But to begin with, I'm just going to cut up this carcass. I'm using a sharp serrated knife here. Now, if you haven't got that, you'll need a chopper. Don't be tempted to take out your best, most expensive kitchen knife and chop these up, because you're gonna chip the knife. I've got a roasting tray. I've got it nice and hot. So add a little bit of groundnut oil to this. Add the wings and the carcasses. Pop this in the oven. I've got the oven on about 200, 220, nice and hot. This should take around about half an hour to get a nice golden colour on the chicken. Now, meanwhile, I've got here some mushrooms and onions. Now, in a non-stick pan, stick it on a pretty high heat, and a little bit more groundnut oil in. I'm going to colour the onions and the mushrooms. I will add some butter, but I don't want to add the butter now, because otherwise if it gets too hot, it'll burn. I'm going to put the onions in first because they take a little bit longer. Give the onions about a 10-minute head start. Add the mushrooms. Then at this point I'm going to add the butter. These mushrooms contain a lot of water, so you'll notice when you first put them in the pan, there will be a lot of liquid coming out. We've got to boil that off. Good point to add the butter, because the water in there is actually going to stop the pan getting too hot and prevent the butter from burning. So these are just about ready, another 3-4 minutes. At this point, I'm going to add a couple of cloves of garlic. What I'm going to do is just give them a bash and put them in the pan. So I'm going to deglaze this with some white wine. And the purpose of this is to get this, got some wonderful, as you can see in the pan here, if you look, all these dark bits around the edge, they're going to be packed full of flavour, and I want all of that from this pan to go into the pressure cooker. This is what we're going to use to cook the gravy in. So if I just pour the wine in, I'm just flaming the wine, which just softens the character of it. We need to reduce this by about 1/2 to 2/3. You'll be able to smell when it's ready. It's just lost that volatile alcohol note. So the chicken should now be ready, nice and golden brown. Add this to the pan. So I'm going to add the mushroom, onion and garlic mixture to the pressure cooker. Add some more white wine. In total, I'm using between 1/2 and 2/3 of a bottle for this recipe. Again, need to bring that to the boil, flame it, and just reduce it by 1/2. Now I can add the rest of the liquid. I'm just using water. And these pressure cookers are brilliant for making gravies. They get higher temperature when the lid's on, when they're up to pressure. They get to higher temperatures than a normal pan will achieve. And that means there's more flavour reactions going on, so the sauce becomes more complex. Now, just before I put the lid on, I'm going to add a couple of sprigs of thyme and a couple of sprigs of rosemary. Bring that up to pressure and leave that to cook for 1 hour. So this has now been cooking for an hour. I've left it to cool down completely because I want to trap I don't want any of the flavour coming off in the steam. Okay, now I need to strain this. Take a ladle and make sure you press down nice and hard. Next stage is to reduce this liquid by between 1/2 and 2/3. So here's the sauce, here's the gravy that's been reduced to the right consistency. And if I show you, a lot of that thickening has come from the gelatin that's in the chicken. I've added no starch to thicken this sauce. because for me, what starch does is it masks the flavour. Now, to finish it, I'm going to add some of this. This is chicken butter. Now, for me, one of the most wonderful smells in the kitchen is that of chicken frying in butter. So I thought, right, why not fry the trimmings with the skin in butter? And I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of this to the sauce. So now I'm going to transfer this to a jug. Using this hand blender, emulsify the butter into the sauce. And taste. Now, it's wonderfully rich, but it needs some acidity just to balance that richness. I'm using sherry vinegar here. Add a few splashes, taste. You need to taste this continually, really. The last thing, some herbs. And remember, I added some rosemary and thyme into the pressure cooker. That was cooked for an hour. I've got wonderful deep rosemary thyme though, but I want that really fresh characteristic from the rosemary and thyme. So all I'm going to do is add some thyme and rosemary. So I'll leave these to infuse for half an hour, then it's ready to serve.